What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's Huddle. We come at you every Tuesday, 3 o'clock Central, to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that. Today's a special episode. With me, as always, is Daniel and Jose from Preferred Flooring. We're going to be joined today by Crystal Sims, the installation guru, and Jen Zurn as well. So they shot a video. When was that, Crystal?
At the CFI convention.
At the CFI convention with Mohawk's accessory side of their business, and it was a pretty awesome insight into these ladies. I would call it kind of struggle in the start of their flooring careers. I think all of us have some of that, but they have a particular aspect as being women in the flooring industry. So we thought we would dive deeper into that conversation with them. So welcome, Crystal. Thank you for joining us. And Jen should be joining us here shortly.
Yeah, she said she's commuting, but she's going to jump on her phone. So,
all right. So we get Jose and Jen in the cars. I've been there
as usual lately.
I've been there a few times myself. So, all right. So, maybe we'll wait for Jen to get on to start any Q&A with the ladies. But Crystal, can you tell me how that interview kind of came to be and where that idea got started?
I think Megan is it Megan from FC Magazine?
FCI Magazine
reached out and asked if I'd be willing to do an interview for them during the CFI convention. And she had talked about the generational gap is where it started from. And I just was like, I think that Jose and Daniel have a lot more insight as to the generational gap. And so I asked her if the three of us could actually be there together. And so I didn't even know they were going to separate that interview into me talking about the women in the industry. So I thought that was pretty cool once I seen that was coming out.
She has an issue to where she gets nervous and she's like, I just want you guys to be there with me, you know. Been like that since she was a kid. Why don't you just come with me? Will you just come with me?
See, it wasn't even that though. I just felt like they would present a lot better for that
Topic.
The installation crisis. Yeah, the topic that they were looking for. And so that's kind of why I offered the three of us, because all three of us have a little bit something different to offer.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have the two birds with one stone thing, though. You know, you are younger and a woman, so you can speak on both aspects. So I enjoyed the video. I thought that there was some particular things in there. One question in particular for you was, I noticed you said and I wanted to just be transparent and get it out there. Like, I know a lot of men in the industry walk on eggshells, so to speak, in talking to women, or not even just to women. But to give you an example, if I'm talking to the crews and refer to them, hey, you guys need to do X, Y, and Z. And if there's a lady on there, am I messing up by that? But I heard you kind of refer to yourself as one of the guys. So that seems to be maybe a key insight, at least for me. Does that bother you if you're in the crowd if you're one of two women on a crew and you're referred to as, not specifically, but as the crew overall, as the guys or you guys? Did I explain that well enough? I'm curious.
No, I get it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Jen needs to be added as a panelist, she said.
Looks like they're working on it.
All right.
One thing too is, and this is kind of like the little inside joke, is as Crystal started progressing in her career in the flooring industry, I never referred to her as like her like that's baby sister, right? That's what we used to say all the time. Or if someone could do it, I used to say, "Do you want me to go get my baby sister to do it for you?" And that kind of like broke the ice with the guys as far as how she was viewed. She was never viewed as lesser than. She was always viewed as an equal, and some of that might have been because Daniel and I are her brother, and obviously we are geared a little bit differently. But the other part is that she just kind of earned that respect, man. Like she earned it. She lifted everything. She hauled everything. She did all the hands on. She did all the grunt work. She started no different than anybody else would as a greenhorn in the industry. And that earned her a ton of respect from anyone, woman or male or female, that worked around her, with her, or continues to work around her or with her. She earned that respect herself. We didn't do any of that. She did all that herself.
Yeah, I'm curious with day-to-day interactions and things like that with your crews and stuff. So looks like Jen's joined us now. Hey, Jen, how are you?
Pretty good. Sorry about that, technical difficulties.
We got you in.
We blame everything on Paul anyways.
It's my fault. So,
Day-to-day interactions.
day-to-day interactions, because you lead a crew, is that correct, Crystal?
I do.
How does, from a generational gap standpoint, more than female, although I'm sure it'll roll into there, how is if you have older installers on your crew, how do you work through that as a younger lead?
So there's actually only one person on the crew that is older than me, but we've worked together for 6 years, 6 to 8 years, something like that. He actually started like a year after I did. And so we work really well together. Sometimes he gets on my nerve because he does a lot of this, but I just have to let him know, like, you are still setting an example in front of, these younger guys who tend to follow his lead because he is someone to look up to. And so I did have that conversation with him where it's just like, me and you are kind of in this together. He we call him our glorified grunt man. So he's really good at setting you up for success. He's good at, loading the tools, getting everything set up for mixing prep and stuff. So we are a really good team in that aspect. But yeah, I don't like, as far as running crews, I haven't ran into anything on job sites. There's usually, everyone is pretty respectful of me, but I present myself in that way as well. Like, I show up as a professional. I'm shaking hands, making eye contact, kind of talking them through what my goal is for the day and what kind of our process is, and answer any questions that they have.
Gotcha. Jen, I was just asking Crystal about leading crews out in the field from the generational standpoint, as well as possibly being a woman as well. But, for the installation crisis and you bring in a bunch of people, that means they're going to be our future leaders. So I was curious of that dynamic when you are leading older installers on a crew. Just some insight to your experience on that.
I haven't run into too much issues with having older guys on a crew. More often than not, you develop that relationship and they trust what you're doing. And I think when you have crew members working with you, coming into that situation, they are already aware that you're in charge. But it's a little different when you're running into other tradesmen on the job site that are older, that it's not atypical to see a woman leading a crew.
Yeah.
So there I would say you get some double takes, but once you kind of establish, like Crystal's saying, you walk in, you introduce yourself, look them in the eye, shake their hand. You just kind of go through I don't want to say motions, but you're going through the motions to establish that, you're there to work and professionalism.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's harder to do that as a female than it is like if one of us walked in there and just starts taking control? Because sometimes, like he's saying, the older generation kind of views things a little bit differently and they could take things differently. Do you think that it's harder for you guys to end up doing that than it would be for us?
So I definitely think that it is a little bit harder. But I also think the mentality of the individual plays a big part. Like for me, if another, individual has a problem with me being there, it's sorry, can't talk. It's for me, I don't care. That is their problem. My brain has like designated it as that. So then they have to contend with that. That's not me.
That's really the confidence that you were speaking about in the video too, right, Crystal? Where you had to get to that confidence level. Is that once you get there is when you start to have that? Is that accepting yourself that you have the authority, or is it what is that?
I mean, I think I'm still working on all of that. Are you ever done working on your confidence levels? As you learn new things, you're starting to build confidence on other things as well. For me, if someone is giving me a hard time, I usually try to work out a deal with them. How long are you going to be here? I just need to do this. And I think that's the difference between me and say Daniel per se, because when he shows up, he's like, I need this and I need this now.
She's a
And
lot more empathetic than I am when it comes to stuff like that, because when I go in there, this is what I need. I need the floor to do the floor. You guys got to get out. Whereas she goes in there, hey, this is what I need to do. How can we work together? And I think that actually helps her out a lot because it's just not something that I think about doing.
Yeah,
it's
that's
more of
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I try to form that partnership, and maybe that's why I'm a likable person when I'm on a job site, because if I need to leave that alone for, a couple hours in the beginning of the day, but that means I have it at the end of the day, I can make a different game plan to where I can still be where I want to be by the end of the day and everybody's still happy.
Yeah, that's working. I'm on Daniel's side of that fence. When I was young and first started installing and started running crews in my lower 20s, and would catch so much flack because I looked like I was 8, and I
You
was
still look
I
like
see
you're
it.
8.
I
I was
see it.
telling people what to do, and I caught a lot of flack, and I was a guy. I mean, I caught a lot of flack from older installers. I mean, I got thrown off a job once because they turned me in for not having a hard hat on. My own company guys did that because
Jeez.
it was one of those combative situations. This young kid coming in thinking he knows everything, and to be fair to them, I was a bit of a egotistical jerk when I thought first got going. I thought I was awesome, and it took some education and some training courses to learn that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, which is why I am so heavy on pushing on training now.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I would imagine as a woman in the trade, there's pros and cons. Like you have a gentler way, maybe it's just smarter way of getting what you want. Like it's still your goal oriented. I want this. You just go about it in a different manner than say Daniel or I would go in and like, move this crap, get this out of the way, get the ceiling tile guys out of here now. We're supposed to do this today. And you have a more creative path to the same goal without causing
I've
all
done
the
both.
tension.
Yeah, Rollins says that he says he's worked with both genders, and he feels like they get a lot more respect because they have a certain self-assurance about themselves, right? Like, I know I'm coming in here and I can work with everyone, so that means that, you know, I'm coming in as a partner right off the bat. I'm not necessarily coming in and trying to take over the entire job like we're talking about. So
Can learn
it's
some stuff.
we could learn some stuff. That's why we're talking to them.
Yeah.
How
How about you?
Jen?
Yeah. How about you, Jen? Working through some of those site dynamics and
I think it's just like I said before, it's building the relationship, having open communication, talking to everybody on site, trying to coordinate things so we can all work together. I get some, pushback a little bit, but I don't think it, and maybe it's just me, I don't think it's any more than when I see, like, so my husband and I were running the installation company, and if he showed up versus me showing up, he was going to get that same pushback no matter what. And but in all fairness to what you were saying, Daniel, my husband is a very young looking face, so maybe that just didn't help our situation where I'm female, he's young
Hey,
looking.
I know that. I know that feeling too.
That's why you'll never see him without facial hair.
I don't blame
That's
them.
his
That's
only way
why
of proving it.
What's that?
That's his only way of proving that he's 40.
that's
Now
why
the,
Paul, that's
now
why
the gray
Paul's
is.
showing the grays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got mine are coming in. They're slowly but surely.
Yeah, mine too.
Someone
So I
called
got
them some
something,
platinum.
Platinum.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I call
did.
mine.
Platinum, me too. I got something to
Well-
add to that. The theory, you guys, is from what I've seen as far as sitting back and observing, is that me, obviously as a male, see, check it out, as a male, I go in there, and if I go in there and I'm assertive, no matter if I'm trying to work with or against someone to get the areas, I'm just considered cocky because I'm a man. But if a woman goes in there with it, she's just considered confident, which is approach totally different, and it's received differently. Depending on, also like Jen said too, depending on the demographic that you're dealing with or the age demographic that you're dealing with. And when I started leading crews, I was young, and it's the same thing. Like, I went in confident, but people still thought I was cocky, and I was always leading people. My crew was always older than me, and everyone I worked with or under on other projects, generals, they were always older than me too, because I was young. I was put in the position at a young age. But it gave me a lot of practice, and I think Crystal's approach, because I've seen it firsthand and worked with her long enough, is she's got a very great balance between both confident and getting her point across. But she also understands the importance of holding her part of the bargain. If she makes a deal, if she says, "Hey, this is our compromise," she's got to hold up her end of the bargain, right? Otherwise, she loses all credibility for future projects or the future of that project. But that goes for anybody, not just her. That's for
Yeah.
anybody. And I think it's a struggle no matter what. But I love the fact that she has her own way of going in and commanding respect, so to speak.
Well, I remember in one of the roundtables that you two were on as well, that talking about the generation, the gap and the women thing came up too, but it was really the generational gap portion where it was you guys talked about, I forget who said this, but I remember it distinctly, like, we're not lazy, we just try to find the most efficient way.
That would be Reese.
Okay, so yeah, and with that being, like, how can we get the older, maybe this isn't the best question, but basically, how do we get older people to realize that it's not lazy? Maybe just listen for a minute and see if their way is more efficient. And specifically since the younger crowd, I think, are being, attending more trainings. When I say younger, I mean the new people coming into the industry now have more access to more training than maybe 5 years ago. Maybe some of that's coming through CIM or some other trainings, or just going through a training, a course itself, certification. They talk about professionalism and such, just depending on which one you go to. But my point is it because of training, you possibly know a more efficient way than an old school guy would. and that doesn't have to be combative. So how do you work around that where you're like, look, just hear me out for a minute if you're being from a, not from a women's standpoint, but from a generational gap standpoint? Does that make any sense?
I get what you're saying. I think we just have to have the conversations, because some of us, well, all of us, it's human nature that we kind of get tunnel vision, and we get stuck in seeing things only from our perspective. So the only way to give consideration to there being anything else is to have the conversation. Hey, maybe it's not that they're just lazy. Maybe they just have a different way of working. And I mean, because when Reese said some stuff, I was like, I never thought about it like that. And she had some really great points. I actually, that would have been a clip that I would love to have gotten. Actually, Daniel, I think you got
I
it.
did. It's on YouTube. The whole thing is on YouTube.
Yeah, she did
No,
a
is it-
fantastic job of explaining it. And I think that kind of stuff needs to be put out there, because overall, I think the younger generations get a bad rap for that. I mean, if I look at my kids, they see how hard I've had to work as a contractor, and I doubt that they would go, yeah, I want to work that hard. No, they're going to look at it and go, I don't want to work that hard. I actually think there might be a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
No
Well,
different than us. If we saw our parents struggling growing up, we're not going to want to struggle growing up. We want to do something different.
Put yourself in a different position for
Yes.
an easier
Yes.
chance of success. Right. That's awesome. And
Well, and that's what parents do too, right? We try to
Yeah.
set our kids up to have it better than us. So
Right.
there's a bit of that comes natural.
And a lot of that, like I did an article about self-leveling, right? And that's what one of the points of self-leveling is to do things smarter. You can go ahead and skim that floor 3 or 4 times to get it to look the same way that you could if you just self-level it one time. And people don't look at it like that. They think, oh, you're just trying to take the easy way out. Well, yeah, man, you only got so many miles on your knees. Let's start thinking about other ways that you can, prolong your body. And having, the younger generation start with that right away is going to be really ideal for the industry.
Well, and they're coming in knowing the newer tools. We talked at one point about on one of the podcasts about, just crab stretchers and how revolutionary we found those when we got our hands on them, I mean, it's kind of like the cell phone, the younger generation, like my kids grew up with cell phones, like it was part of them, growing up. Understanding that the tools that they have at their disposal coming into the trade is better. And so they have a better understanding of the easier ways of doing things. And someone like myself, who's been doing it forever, grab a kicker and start kicking. And there's this thing called a crab stretcher.
Right. Kevin said that he had a hard time with the age aspect because Kevin looks young as well still. And he's just said a good work ethic will get respect at any age.
Yeah.
And I think looking at it from kind of our perspective, right? We're minorities, so we already kind of get that pushback. We've been on jobs to where a lady looks at Jose and she's like, "You go here now." And then
how
he
long
just
they take you
Yeah.
finish this area?
and it's like, "Lady, I speak better English than you. Yeah, we're gonna be right here."
That was literally a conversation what Daniel just said. I hate to
And
admit
so
but that
it
was.
gives us a different, kind of view into what a woman may end up going through on a job site or a young person, because I started off young too. I started off leading crews when I was like 19 years old, and it's like no one takes you seriously until you show them, and it sucks because showing them sometimes you have to work extra hard.
And that goes back into something that I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was, about a week or two ago, and it goes back to, and this is the younger generation that was adding to it, and they said that, maybe us as a younger generation, we're going in knowing that we're trying to find an easier way, knowing that we're going to end up using an easier way, but if we're not willing to get our hands dirty alongside the older generation, then maybe we'll never gain that respect. And that's kind of the takeaway I took from that, is that maybe the same way when I came in, right? Because I was the younger generation at one point. I was the person trying to make things easier. And I was approaching a different way, but I also dove in next to them. If they were sticking their hand in the 5-gallon bucket of manure or crap, I was doing it with them, knowing I knew a different way and a better way. But I did it with them so that way I was able to gain the respect of my peers. So that way they were listening to me later on. Different approach, and nobody's got to put their hand in a bucket of crap, like I just said. But it's just one of those examples where maybe there is some give and take on both sides.
Yeah, well, you guys both said it, Crystal and Jen, that, you know, it sounds like conversation and how you approach it is 90% of it. And then, you know, what comes out when Kevin, was it Kevin that just said that hard work is respected by?
Yeah.
So I think where some disconnect happens is they assume trying to find the easiest way is not hard work, A, but B, really what we should be focused on is, in my opinion, is if a young person is punctual and dependable and there for works the same amount of time and is like there at 6:30, the same as the other crews, all this kind of thing, if they're hardworking from that perspective, but then they find an easier way to do things. So really, to me, it would be, if a younger person comes on and they're dependable and they're punctual and teachable, then that's all I look for. And it doesn't matter to me how old they are or what gender. It's those things that are most important.
Becky says that presenting yourself in a mindset of always being interested in learning and efficiently working is a piece to combative minds. I do it this way because I've learned this way, just to be transparent and open to questioning. Like, do you feel that X is more effective than Y? And it's
posing it as a question.
Yeah, like the people that say I've done it this way for 20 years, so it's the only way that I know how to do it, and they don't want to stray from that mindset. And what you have to do is you have to come with an open mind. All right, I've done it this way for 20 years, but this person is showing me that I can get this done and save X amount of time and still have it done right. Then maybe we should be listening a lot more to these people than what we have been.
I think there's just also a natural resistance. I mean, to an older person. I mean, like if a 20-year-old carpet layer came up to me and wanted to show me a new way of doing things, I can't say that I wouldn't have resistance to what that young person's saying. It's a bit of that is just natural. But there again is where we have to recognize those natural tendencies and judge whether or not they are serving us or not. I mean, is it serving us to be so hard-headed? Sometimes, obviously not.
Right. And a great thing that I went through a certification with William Thornton, and we were doing some heat welding, and he was watching me, right? And I'm heat welding and I'm explaining it to another person that was doing the certification. And he was just like, I never would have thought to explain it and do it that way. I'm going to write that down. So that's the way that I'm going to teach it from now on. So this is someone that's been in the industry for years, still learning. And you have to be able to take that information and run with it instead of being so locked into your ways that, no new information can penetrate.
Yeah.
I think that
Always be training.
I'm wondering too if a lot of their resistance to learning something new is they don't see the time that it saves them right up front. Some of these things take a little bit more practice. And I know for like one of the guys on our crew, he said if he doesn't understand something right away, or if he doesn't get the concept, he doesn't want to do it that way because he knows that his way is effective. Even if it's going to save him time in the long run, it saves him being frustrated in that moment. So just throwing out there that it could be they just are not adapting as well to new concepts as.
Yeah, it could just take, that's that persistence in training, being persistent in trying. You may not pick it up the first time and run after it, but when things are, maybe when you're not on such a high pressure job, you try that new technique or you try that new way. But yeah, I'm curious for you and Jen, how was training for you guys? You guys been through different certification courses and things of this nature, different training. How has that been for you? Is it open arms? Are you treated any differently when you go to different trainings? Both aspects, women and your age when you first started getting trained. I see smirks.
Well, Jen's only like 21, right?
Almost 21.
Almost
I
21,
feel
sorry.
like when I started, well, everybody's nice. That's great. But when you watch the guys interact, they're not as nice with each other, but they're definitely more accommodating for you. And you're like, dude, I'm an installer, you're an installer. Let's just look at things that way. I'm not delicate. You don't have to watch what you say. It's fine. My mother probably taught sailors how to swear. So let's move on. So I feel like that is something I've run into a lot, and it's not the case. And I just want to be treated as any other installer. And
But have a good bathroom to go to, right?
yes, that. But
and a maternity area, all right. So if you're pregnant, I think we had to accommodate a
Breastfeeding,
room.
breast pumping.
you know,
Yeah.
I've seen that in some of the other female flooring forums where women are actually on site with their kids and do that. So more power to them. I mean, when having one of the kids, I was like installing floor, and I told my husband, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm having contractions. I'm going to go back to installing the VCT later. And 10 minutes later, it was, hey, could we just call the doctor? I don't want to deliver the baby. And it's just like,
You were actually installing pregnant
yeah,
and having contractions
yeah.
and kept
I
installing.
remember it perfectly. It was a salon in Milwaukee. I was doing VCT. I was going around the door jamb.
And
Ooh,
okay,
ooh.
guys, when you stub your toes and you don't show up to work, there's a new level of experience.
Yeah, no
Man.
excuse.
What in the world? That is awesome.
Yeah, you didn't even
Crystal
work
is
that
doing
long.
the same thing.
Wow.
I worked.
We tried to force
I
we tried to
delivered a
force
week
maternity leave.
What
Right.
did you say, or Crystal?
I said both times I delivered like a week after I stopped working.
Wow. You
Her
guys are
body was like,
troopers.
ooh, break. Let's do it.
Yep.
That is crazy. So so that shouldn't get in the way either. It sounds like not that I would encourage or discourage either any women to install pregnant, but at the end of the day, it shows you that it's not necessarily, just like Jen said, it's don't treat her as, more fragile or anything. Her ears and her body are just fine to do the job she's there to do. I think that's the case that we got to focus
Right.
on.
And then when you have a woman that's pregnant on a job site too, you should see, like, if you're working in an office setting, like, and someone starts complaining about the fumes, it's like
The smell, yeah.
she's 8 months pregnant right now. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm sure that this question is going to come up in the chat, but I want to know, how many contractions does it take for you to do a door cut?
I don't know. So I have a high pain threshold. So like to me, it's like, oh, well, that's weird. And then just kind of go back to it. And then like, okay, there's another one. But that was it. And then I'm like, I wonder if that's what it is. Nah. But I was like, well, I better say something in case it happens. That way it's not my fault. So
No,
that's
I'm
why
gonna
I
be
told
honest.
Jay.
I'm gonna be honest to you and to Crystal. Like, that just amazes me that you guys are able to function and go, like, I don't want to say like it's an obstacle, right? But like, to me, it almost
Well, they just
like,
show
I
it's
know
not
guys.
an obstacle.
Yeah, to me, it's like some guys I know, including maybe myself, in some cases, always try to find an excuse not to work, and that's where I was going with that. Is it wasn't even an option. It wasn't even, and you guys were doing that, and I love that. That absolutely amazes me. That while you're creating life, you're creating art with your hands as well. That's
she actually
awesome.
cut herself while she was pregnant too.
Twice.
Oh,
Yeah, stitches,
both
right?
times.
Dang.
Yeah.
One
You
here.
guys are soldiers. I don't know what the deal is.
Hey, do we have matching scars?
Really?
Were you
Heck
kids?
yeah.
It's right here. I didn't do mine pregnant though.
Yeah, we told her to take the week off. She said, "No, I can work one more week." We're like, "I don't think that's a good
It
idea."
was too.
The day she came back to work, she's like, "Oh, you
Should've
guys
stayed home.
oh."
Every time I cut myself, I don't want to tell anyone either. Except this time I got 8 stitches here. It's the first time they made me go to the hospital and I didn't want to.
The crazy thing is that everyone always like they don't want to tell me, but also they do want to tell me because I'm really good at like stitching people up in a just real quick so you can
Nurse
be
Dan.
all right.
Same.
Nurse Daniel.
No, Nurse Dan.
Hoda has said that the babies were learning installs in the womb.
All right, we got new installers coming on board soon.
I can say I don't know if it's because I worked through my first pregnancy. I stayed home most of that, but my second two, I was actually doing flooring, and them kids are like way more hype. It might be the things I was smelling.
So what after the video with Mohawk's accessories side, when did that come out, and have you guys, has anybody reached out, has other women who are thinking about getting into our industry, have any reached out to either of you two over the time here?
I think that video
Regardless of
just
video,
came
but-
out like
It did.
this week,
This
right?
week, Monday.
Gotcha.
What's today?
Today's Tuesday.
So
Maybe
then it was last week.
last week, Friday or something.
It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. I wish, I hope more ladies watch and consider it. What are the pros? Like, what would you tell a woman that is, especially a younger woman? Because, right, we're talking about the generational gap in a way, and we're talking about women in construction in a way. So what advice do you give to younger women who are considering it? Like, what should they drop as if they have some concerns? What are some of those that might come up, but they just need to drop and give it a shot?
Some
Maybe
people,
they're preconceived notions or any of that.
I could see that maybe like for me coming into it, I was a little bit intimidated by the construction portion of it because I had never done construction before. But I can honestly say that it has made me a lot stronger woman because of it. And that's because of all the people that I have surrounded myself with, who I've learned from, have helped me feel more confident in my skin, and like leading crews and being able to go out and talk to different people and kind of coordinate different jobs that were needing to be done has helped me become a better leader. And I just feel like, I don't want to say powerful, but you feel like a badass, like, and it's not because you want the attention or anything. It's because you're put into this leadership position where you can kind of lead other people to different successes as well.
Yeah, and leadership's leadership regardless of gender or age. So if you display those, those leadership qualities, one of them is being willing to do what you're asking of others, right? We know that's a leadership quality. Also, being punctual and dependable for your staff or for your subordinates or whatever, that being there and being a good leader, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, but it's particularly important, it sounds like, for your own confidence to get built. You know what I mean? Like, it's self-generating when you show up and then you do the work and you're on time, and regardless of your age, and people recognize that. If, like it was said earlier, those things are respected traits. It really doesn't matter what your gender is or what your age is.
And not only that is, I think that being in the flooring has actually led me to have other capabilities outside of flooring as well. For
Like?
instance, just other aspects of construction, I've learned to, painting. I can remodeled our bathroom, which I put our bathtub in, I put our sink in. I didn't do the electrical because that's not what I do.
Yeah.
Scary.
She calls
Yeah, I
someone
call
else
these
for
guys.
electrical.
Well, actually, I let my husband mess it up first, and then we call them. But
Well, you gotta do that to Charlie.
right. I've recently taken up making like baking and stuff, and just because I can be creative with my hands on the floor, I can be creative in other aspects of my life as well.
Hey, hold up, guys, you heard that, right? Like, she just now took up baking. So all you guys who think that the stereotypes that's what women are doing, that's what they're learning, no.
That's pretty
That's
awesome though, that
individual.
yeah, that you can find the love of something else through whether it's some carpentry work or some plumbing work, just building your confidence to be able to jump into some of those things is, I know a lady who started a company here in Wichita about 4 or 5 years ago, and I actually know her husband pretty well. And she started a company of handy women. I forget the name of it, but it's all women that go in and in the residential world and do handyman work for customers, and they are killing it. They are killing it, and they're killing it because they found that, look, a lot of consumers. Now, this may not, go right over into the commercial construction world, but in the residential world, a lot of consumers like having women do the work. I mean, that's the bottom line, and they are killing it. She's adding. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was traveling down to Dallas with Chris, and he was telling me they're trying to find more women to add to that business. And I don't know how it's all set up, but I thought it was pretty interesting that they went into a male-dominated field and really just are killing it. And it had to be the stuff you guys are talking about, the confidence to do that, and obviously they got to do good work, or at the end of the day, because that's kind of like the Delta. No matter what, if you're not doing good work, you can get thrown out, right? But if you're doing good work and you couple that with the demeanor and the approach and the creative thought process that you guys have, it's proven to be a win for them.
I can say that it does cross over to the commercial aspect as well, because I find that when I go onto job sites where women are the owners or the designers are women, I can actually relate to them a lot more. And I think they feel more comfortable and more at ease that we can communicate on that level.
That's a good point.
We've actually gotten invites because they preferred to have Crystal there as their installer. And that was because the designer, obviously a female at one of the projects, or the lady who was in charge of getting everything moved out, in charge of her crews and the office staff, really loved the fact that Crystal as a crew leader was there, and it just kind of, I don't want to say it fed into it, right? But it's women are not shy. Women will empower women all the time, but a guy is always hesitant to empower another male because they're a male, and that's a superpower that women have. Is they don't care. Right is right, wrong is wrong. She's done a good job that deserves some notoriety, and I love that.
And to that point, Jose, one of the things, because Crystal and I had jumped on a call with, she was a new installer and she was going through the 2 or 5 leak out in Wichita. And Dwayne Pruitt reached out and asked us if we jump on a call with her and talk. And one of the things that we, had mentioned is how great the other females in our industry are. Like, we're each other's cheerleaders, and you don't always get that. Because it's not a competition. We're happy to see each other's successes, and I mean, it's fantastic to see the older generation. You know, we have Susie Namba, Kathy Case, and you know, this generation with Crystal and Elena Lagator. And it's really encouraging when you see the next generation coming in, that you can encourage them and then feel like, yes, I do have a place. That, you know, even though there might be some intimidation factor because it is male dominated, they can see that they're getting that support from their females that are also in the industry.
Yeah, because I don't think, no one empowers a female like another female, and I've seen that not just in this industry, but my wife used to teach pole dancing classes, and that was the main focus there was you get these women that are so like down on themselves, and you just get them in a group and you empower them up to a point where their confidence is just out there now. And she did some pole classes too.
Stretcher pole is a stretcher pole though. That's it, just so you guys know, it's a stretcher pole.
Probably doesn't hurt as much.
But Rollin does ask a good question. He says that, both of you guys came from families that were in the industry. Do you feel like this helps you compared to someone that's starting out fresh in the industry?
That is a good question.
And we were still fresh though, Rollin. I'll just let you know that we were still fresh when she came in. We were still
Yeah, but we were already started though.
I
So
think
Yeah.
that's a bigger advantage for them coming in fresh and having so many women that are already established in the industry.
Do you
that-
guys have a month? Is there any monthly women in flooring's group or anything where you guys meet on a monthly basis or anything and just
I believe they
True.
just start getting that ball rolling. So yes, it is starting.
sorry, we got some feedback.
Okay, bye.
Okay,
Paul always has technical difficulties.
Jen, you said they just got that ball rolling on that?
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
we get some information on that so that way we can share some of that information on some of the live feeds or the
Yeah.
podcast. So that way women who are currently in the industry or are looking to get in the industry have somewhere to go to get information. That would be awesome.
I just always give everyone Jen's number. So
I think that in a flooring group,
well, there is
Facebook-
women in the flooring group on Facebook. I think there's one
Yeah,
on LinkedIn.
there's actually quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I got
What-
kicked out of a couple because I'm not a lady.
So
You look good in drag, Jose.
is it only for
Yeah,
women
good
then?
eyebrows.
Is that group only for women, or is it just based on that
I think there's a few
um,
different pages.
Alana says women of the flooring business. And yeah, I
Women?
think there's two different ones. One everyone is allowed to go to, and the other one only women, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's multiple ones. There's like women in floor installation, there's CFI gals, there's tile chicks. So the premise is the reason why they don't allow guys in there, and it's nothing to do because with you being a guy, because you could be the most encouraging one. It's so there's a place for other women to go and be able to ask questions, express concerns where they feel comfortable, and other women who might be in those circumstances without being maybe judged by other guys, no
Right.
matter how encouraging
Well,
they are. It's a
I
safe
think-
space.
Because
Yeah.
Kevin brought up that towel chick, Shannon, right? And she does amazing work. She's got great videos. We met her at
Vegas.
Surfaces.
Yeah. Surfaces.
And her and I think it's her fiance, right? They're not
Yeah,
married.
Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great people. And you get on some of these groups and it's just the amount of crap that people talk for no reason is
No
ridiculous.
reason.
And it's like just because she has, more followers than you'll be fine, man. Like there's no reason to talk crap. And
Well,
I
you
just
opened the
think that
floodgates.
it's okay, right? Because I've been on that side of things too, where people talk crap about me, but you're always, if you don't have haters, then maybe you're doing something wrong, right? It's like
Well,
they don't bother me one bit. You can
there seems to
hate on
always
me.
be a I'd say a minority of people on these Facebook groups that their goal is to like find something negative. I've read through plenty, I'm on plenty of the Facebook groups, and women or men, it's like there's just a portion of them that are always going to go down negative, and there's a portion that's always trying to find the positive, and you can clearly see them.
Right.
But I was just curious if there was that aspect, and obviously there is, and that's a good thing. I don't see it. Not that a man should be in there, but there should be some that are mixed, with that being the focus, and some that are just women only, and that's kind of would allow more men to show their support. And also, like, everybody's all in different parts of the country. If someone needs a job in Wichita and they're a female and they have a good track record or are hard workers, we would like to know them, And
Yeah.
so it's also a way of, gainfully employing people who want to be gainfully employed. So I was just curious if that dynamic's there. That's awesome that it is.
I just found another women's group on Facebook. I just typed it in to see what went on, and I'm a little jealous of the name. It's called Wi-Fi. Women in the flooring industry. Women in the flooring industry. That is pretty. I'm a little jealous. You know what? I followed. I like it. I
That's a
dig it.
pretty good name. So we're getting close to the end here. It's funny how quick an hour goes. Geez. I do want to remind before we close that we have the Forward Progress Scholarship. If you guys don't know about that, we mention it every week, but it's FCICA's SIM program. Go Carerra has sponsored one of those courses, and so there's a scholarship that we've emailed out. I wonder, could we post that like during next week's?
We got another email about it today as well, and then I also posted to the groups about it. Since I can't win it, I might as well.
Ineligible.
That's right. Me too. You and me together. But apply for that scholarship. We will be selecting the winner on December 15th or thereabouts. And so, yeah, get on, and I want to make sure to announce that. Oh, the deadline, I'm sorry. Let me make a correction. The deadline is December 15th, and we will announce it January 10th, the day before my birthday. Hey. So, anything in closing you guys would like to close with?
I'm talking to our guests.
I'm talking to Jen and Crystal, our unique guests for the week.
Well, I would suggest that if there's any females looking to get into the industry, one, I'm more than happy to jump on a phone call, Zoom meeting, whatever it is, and talk about it. And two, if it's something where you like working with your hands, and even though it's a male-dominated industry, there is a place here. It is a very encouraging, inviting trade. I just take the time and explore the possibilities.
Thank you for saying that. That's awesome. Yeah, it is. I feel like it's.
How do you follow that, Crystal? How do you follow that?
I say ditto.
Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us this week. I know an hour's short time to get through everything, but I hope everybody gained a little insight to the perspective of being younger, coming into a trade that's also, older dominated too. I mean, our average installer in the industry is somewhere between 53 and 58, depending on which study you read. So not only are you got that battle, but also being in a male dominated field. So you guys are, lionesses in my mind, and I appreciate your leadership in this arena. So it's a big lesson for men and women. I think a lot of the stuff we talked about on this call. So I appreciate you guys.
People are saying that they need to see more of you guys on here, so you might have to just.
Uh-oh.
We might have to just
Seriously,
take a
you wanna
break
do
and
our
have
own
you guys do
show?
it.
We'll call it the
Should.
Crystal and Jen Show.
Yeah.
There
Come
you
join
go.
this crazy train.
Oh, let me write the opening statement and use it.
You have to, only in song and dance form, Jose.
100%.
Interpretive dance.
Interpretive
I got
dance.
Yeah.
So I want to add before we let everyone go and we end this. I want to add something that crossed my mind during this whole conversation. Is guys, maybe we can learn something from women entering any industry, not just flooring, but you know, we put ourselves in a situation right now where the older generation was not willing to share information, yet we have women coming in to every aspect of life, construction, business, and they're willing to pass that information on to the next because they are so supportive of building one another up. We probably wouldn't even be in a shortage of labor right now if we had that vision and that view and shared that same drive that women do. We would be more than willing to share information and pass it. I don't want to say pass it down, but pass it on and pass it down because we would be building up the community around us instead of making sure that we are the only one on that totem pole. That should never be the case in any industry, no matter what. We should be more than willing to share with everyone around us, essentially creating a village, right? So just food for thought. That's what popped in my head during this whole conversation.
It's not a flooring competition. It should be a flooring family.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
competition is only, a few times a year for the regionals and then once a year in Vegas.
Yeah, and I'll add to that the lessons that you can learn is we're all installers. So like the supporting that you're talking about, Jose, would have been really nice when I first got in. I could tell you that you're not treated the best sometimes if you get with an old installer, doesn't want to see you there. So if we could be more supportive of installers in general, gender be damned and age be damned, just support another skilled tradesperson and support their journey by sharing. One of our core values in my company is that we share our knowledge and we make others feel that by showing them. And so, the only way you can really break down the barriers is to not have them in the first place and recognize an installer for their
Agreed.
worth as an installer. So maybe Jen kind of touched on this earlier, and I know Crystal said it too, like we're not fragile and all this stuff. Treat us like installers, give us the knowledge, pass it on, and allow us to do a great job. Just like Crystal said in the video, let me show you.
Right. But also don't join our groups.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And with that, I'm going to close down this week's huddle. We will see you guys next week. And thank you, Jen, and thank you, Crystal, for joining us. It was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
Take
We'll
it
see
easy,
you guys
guys. Thanks for
later.
joining.
Thanks, guys.